So I want to welcome you to another episode of Saints Edified. I'm your host Arturo, and thank you once again for tuning in, guys. Now today we have another video episode and another discussion, in fact. So I'm actually looking forward to this one. It's a brother who has encouraged many, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that you guys could be a supporter of Saints Edified if you visit our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Saints Edified. Also, too, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you guys don't know already, check out Redeem Project Radio. It's a 24/7 online Christian radio station for Christian hip hop, and we play podcasts, including the guest I have tonight. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And yeah, so I'm gonna get started. So today I have the one and only Dawain Atkinson, right? Atkinson?
Yeah.
All right.
You got it. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So Dawain. So yeah, man, the B.A.R podcast. This guy, I didn't come across you until very recently, but everyone knows you, man. Like it seems like everyone knows who you are. So, and I see why though, because I'll let you do all the explaining, but for the most part, Dawain, he has a podcast, but he also has a network. And Dawain, do you mind just explaining a little bit, man, to the people what you do, what you're about, and also and kind of explain to the on the B.A.R network as well. So
sure. So my name is Dawain Atkinson. I reside in Fayetteville, North Carolina, born and raised in North Carolina. And I'm the host of the B.A.R podcast, which next month will mark 5 years of being the host. And the B.A.R podcast is an interview style podcast. We interview local pastors, seminary professors, app creators, artists, everybody, you can think of that's putting out really good content. And the purpose of the B.A.R podcast is to be a resource for people. Just in my journey, podcasts actually, I guess, help me come out of false doctrine and understand better theology. And so in return, I started the B.A.R podcast, like I said, 5 years ago, and for it to be a resource as well. So what started out as just one podcast, God has blessed. And now I am the founder and owner of the B.A.R Podcast Network, which originally was supposed to be just podcasts of my friends, because originally one of them owned the B.A.R podcast. But if anybody know anything about podcasts, it's hard to get more than one person in the same place at the same time. And so the idea for the B.A.R Podcast Network was, I'll start this, build a platform, you guys start one, and then we'll just become a network of podcasts. Well, little did I know that God would use, I guess, my platform as well as the fact that I never met a stranger, and I love connecting with people to build out what we call the B.A.R Podcast Network, which is right now we're at about 13 different podcasts, ranging from single, solo female, solo males, duo female, all of that. Like, we have multiple podcasts, and one of our I guess you could say stars, most people know us by the Just Thinking podcast, which was number one on iTunes on the Christian charts. And the up and coming star, I'll give them a shout out, is B.A.R podcast, which they actually premiered at number 12 on the Christian chart. So did not expect any of this, man. And that's pretty much what we have going on, and just excited to be here.
Nice, bro. Thank you for that, man. So also too, when I first heard of the B.A.R podcast, I thought it was like about like Christian hip hop and like people like rapping and stuff, right? But B.A.R stands for Biblical and Reformed.
Yeah, man. It's the sign back there. Yeah, I got a metal bill sign, but yeah, Biblical and Reformed. A lot of people actually thought it stood for Black and Reformed, which I am Black and I'm Reformed, but we actually went with Biblical and Reformed, and that's what it stands for.
Nice, bro. Nice. Okay, so you've been doing this for 5 years consistently, man. Every Tuesday you drop an episode.
Every Tuesday, man. I made a personal commitment to every Tuesday, which, sometimes literally like now I will be recording, this late or at 12 or 11, trying to make sure I get an episode in the early days. But yeah, every Tuesday.
Wow. Yeah. And it's for that reason alone, man, I think you're perfect for this discussion that I want to bring up. And, as people can see, the title, it's kind of odd, especially for one of my episodes. Normally it's like discussing theology with so-and-so, but it's called The Discouraged Servant. And the reason for that is because there are many of us who try to do what you're doing, and we get so discouraged by many different things, right? So just a quick disclaimer, I'm going to talk for about like 2-3 minutes for those listening, but for the most part, it's going to be Dawain doing the talking. All right. So I just want to give a quick little background, and so yeah. Anyways, Saints Edified, bro. Most people didn't hear about us until last year,
Right.
But I've actually had Saints Edified since 2011.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and but I only had like 13 followers for like 8 years. Like I didn't do anything with it,
Got it.
And what would happen is I would create these articles, right? And I even bought the website too, the domain name. I'd write these articles and then I'd remove them, or I'd have the website up and I just scratch it. I forget it, I'd do these audio clips and these recordings for YouTube, and I would never post them, and I'd delete them, and I didn't want to grow my Facebook page. I literally told myself I don't want to grow. I don't want people to see me, and then by the end of 2019, I was like, you know what, I need to do this. I mean, it's been on my heart. I've always wanted to do these things. So I recreated the logo. I started podcasting for the first time. I wasn't sharing my podcast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was doing it. Then my friends kind of found out about it, and I revamped the Facebook page, the Instagram pages. I was able to grow Saints Edified within the first year up to 800 likes within the first year, and I also created the YouTube page, which has like about 300 and so subscribers. I did a giveaway, and also I interviewed guests like Eli Ayala from Revealed Apologetics. I interviewed people that are ministers or have like pro-life ministries, I did a series on what scripture is, and I did all these things, right? And I got really good feedback, bro. Like it was really good. I also experimented a little bit on my podcasting. There's some things I just wish I never did, but I just had to do it because I was like, I just had to try it, man. And
Sure.
and sometimes people loved it. I worked on my YouTube page again. Then in 2020, I wanted to get further, right? I created a group on Facebook to kind of support and encourage brothers and sisters who are in my shoes, who are reformed, who want to do podcasts and YouTubes and videos and all that. And then through that, we Redeem Project Radio was birthed, and that's a online Christian hip hop station that we have right now.
Right.
And in fact, you're on it right now every Monday at 6:30. You can check out Dawain. So this happened within a year, bro. All within a year. Okay. And I sat back and I thought to myself, I was like, man, like, how come I didn't put work into this like back in 2011, 10 years ago? And I was so scared, right? But there's a reason for all this, bro. There's a reason why I'm sharing all this, because I want people to have some context. The reason why I didn't do anything back then was the main reason is because discouragement. I was discouraged by people, by myself, and by the sin in my life. Some people I looked up to had the opinion of, well, Arturo, like, what do you got to say that Ligonier hasn't said already? like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I get
and time was an issue. I had all the time, bro. Now I'm married with 2 kids. I had so much time back then, bro. And I just, and this last year has been crazy busy for me. So it was discouragement, man. And again, I kind of want to go back and forth with you about it.
Sure.
As far as your ministry goes, right? I'm sure people have given you criticism, and people have maybe even tried to like put you down in some ways or discouraged you. What do you think about that, man? Like when it comes to discouragement and ministry, how do you handle it?
So for me, man, because you got to go to the root of what you just asked me. You're talking about ministry. Ministry means we do it for not our glory, not for man's glory, but for God's glory. And so, I always tell people, you want to make the podcast that first glorifies God, and then second, that you will enjoy. Because at the end of the day, if I'm the only one listening and enjoying it, then that's a win-win, as long as it's giving God glory. So I've been criticized. I've been I guess you could say tried to discourage, but just my personality, man, is, I'm a against the grain guy. I didn't mention this in my bio, but I started the Be Not Deceived page on Facebook. A lot of people like that page. So that page, it was merely just to make people mad that believe in false teachers. And so that's just kind of my personality, by God's grace, man. But somebody that don't have that disposition, I just encourage them, man. Like, at the end of the day, it's funny you said the thing about Ligonier, because I get that all the time when I consult people. But nobody can tell your story. Nobody can explain the gospel the way you explain it. God gave you your own fingerprint, thumbprint, and your voice, somebody else will be attracted to it. It may be a small niche. It may not be thousands of people, but because there's so many people, doing this, your voice is going to stand out to somebody. And then go back to what I said in the beginning. If it don't, as long as it give God glory, that's all that matter.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Amen, bro. Amen. I'm sure you noticed it already. I have a stutter problem, and I've had it since I was a young kid, and I was in speech therapy. I was in all these things, man. They would take me out of class just so I could have these special, settings and stuff. Anyway, and in fact, my sister-in-law told my wife how encouraged she was. Like it's kind of interesting that Arturo does this, knowing that his weakness is speaking, and yet he's trying, keeps trying, right? And at times you do hear people, say certain things about the way how you talk or whatever, and we just have to overlook that and take it,
Listen, it's funny. All through middle school, high school, they told me that I sound like Kermit the Frog, it's hilarious. And now in the podcast world, because it's, I've been out here, I've been doing this for a minute. Like I literally get compliments on how smooth my voice sounds. Yeah. So it's ironic because, like I said, I got teased all through middle school, high school. So that sounds like Kermit the Frog. So I understand that, man. Yeah. And really, it really, a lot of charismatic guys use this out of context, but it reminds me of the whole story of Moses, not being well spoken and God using him, man. So no matter what, what I guess disability or whatever you may have, God can still use that. And that be an encouragement, just like you said with your sister-in-law.
Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. So I do want to get into at least the three things that I think discouraged me. One was people, one was myself, and the other one was sin. And by sin, I don't mean just personal sin, but I'm talking about sin all around, from pride, false humility, right? It's happened to me where I tell people, I don't care about the numbers, it's and there I am every day looking at my downloads. I'm like, how many downloads did I get? The first thing is from people. Okay, from people. Sure. Obviously, we want to reach people. We want to reach them. We tell ourselves all the time, even if we just reach one person, I'll be happy, but sometimes we don't see that one person's reaction. At times they listen to us only once, get really encouraged and edified, and never speak to you again. They don't say thank you, whatever. So when it comes to people criticizing you, what do you think that, how do we get their criticism? And instead of just rejecting it completely, like, forget you, like you're just a hater. What should we do instead, man? What should we do? Because at times I feel like I beat myself up quite a bit, and then when people tell me stuff, I think I take it too seriously sometimes. I'm like, I really just get it in. I'm like, I should probably stop. And so coming from you as a, I see you as a podcast expert, so man. So coming from the expert, Dawain, what would you say to that?
I can't remember a guest I had. He said, criticism is how did he say it? Criticism is a critique without love. And that hit me hard, man, because the criticism comes from a place of trying to make a correction or something that's not quite right. And so what I've learned is to take that criticism, whatever it is, and analyze it. See if it's something that I can make better. If it's something about me, just personally, or, I had a guy tell me, he was like, sometimes when your guests are talking, you say, and wow, in the background, it's a little distracting. And I was like, that's kind of the conversation, man. Like, that's what I do if we was in the same room. But he made me conscious of it. Yeah. And so I actually minimized it because that wasn't, even though he was being critical, it was also good advice, because I can see how that, because especially when you're dealing with guests that are on the phone or whatever, and I got this microphone, and so when their audio isn't great and then I do that, it can take away from. But that was a critic that I could have been like, oh man, whatever. But instead I actually took it and analyzed it and see, okay, let me see what I can do to make this better. So that would be my first response to, critics and things like that, man. Just look into it, because it comes from a place of, there may be something that needs to change. That a lot of times our loved ones, they love us so much they don't want to tell us, that's so funny. But it's somebody that don't know you that will be brutally honest, and that thing could help take your your podcast or your broadcast or whatever you're doing to the next level.
Yeah, man. And along with that too, bro, it's kind of like, I remember I was told one time. So I went ahead and I pretty much removed my first series I made on the podcast. I just removed it. I was so embarrassed by it, bro. And if people are that curious, they could actually look at it's on the YouTube page.
Okay.
Way below. So you have to really look for it. So, but on the podcast itself, I removed it. And I remember, sister from, what was the podcast? It was from Theology Gals.
Yes.
Yeah, she told me, she's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you throw that away? And I was like, don't you think that your guests appreciate you growing and they'd like to see how you're growing? And I was like, I didn't even think about that, like, because people tend to go back to your first episode if they like your stuff. They'll go back.
First thing they do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just so embarrassed by those that series. Although it was about the gospel. It wasn't even about me, bro. It was like about the gospel and how to preach the gospel properly, and here I was being like that self humility, or that I guess that pride of not wanting to sound a certain way.
No way, man. No way. So if you go all the way back to the bar 1001, I'm on like this headset, this gamer headset. I sound like I'm in a phone booth underwater. I mean, it sounds trash, but it's there,
Yeah.
It's there. They see the progression from that gamer headset that I bought from Target to what I call my baby, the ATR 2100 USB microphone. I used that for years, and then God finally blessed me to get to the big dog, man, the SM7B. So it's that progression, man. And I understand, like, so I'm not wired like that. Like, that's why God didn't make me a barber or artist or anything. Like, I don't mind messing up. Like, I've been blessed so much in my life, man, that sometimes I think people seeing me fail helps them, because by God's grace, I'm so successful in so many different things that I don't mind showing my failure to people and letting them see that, and that makes me human, and then that also makes me relatable. And so that's why those first seasons, those first episodes, they're not going nowhere, man, because that's where I started, but I wish we were friends back then, man. I'd have kicked you for doing that.
Yeah, well, after she told me that, I felt so like, I shouldn't have done that, and there's no way for me to like undo it now. So I'm like, okay, well, it's on my YouTube page if people are that curious about it, and but yeah, man, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I imagine it happens a lot, man. It happens a lot to people who start off and they're just not happy with how it came out. I think Alex the Rebel, have you heard of him? Alex the Rebel? Okay, so I have him on Instagram, and he says something too, like, things that podcasters go through all the time, and it was 3 things, and one of them was your recording never comes out how you want, like, and I started laughing so hard at that, bro, because that's exactly me. Every single time I record, I was like, man, I didn't sound like that in my head when it's not as deep as I thought it would be. And so anyway, a lot of times we just gotta get over ourselves, and as long as you're sharing the truth and encouragement, because that's what Saints Edified is about. It's about edifying the saints, encouraging them, and reaching the lost. It's not about me sounding a certain way or whatever. But we have to tell ourselves that, man, because if not, we're just gonna be so keen to like listen to people. Again, criticism is good, but not let it, I guess, deter you and set you off course. So
yeah, I mean, and there's a difference between criticism and trolling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's some people that just malice for no reason, and they don't get attention, time, none of that.
Yeah.
Like they don't even exist to me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference, and you have to be, have to understand the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Because some people could have bad intentions, but they might have something good that you can pull from it, man. So, it's all about taking what you can, man, and making the best out of it, no matter what comes your way.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. Yeah. So that was good, man. So now the next part is discouragement just within my own head, right? Like, I'm my biggest critic, and everyone knows that, and like no one could put you down as much as you can, and like you notice things that no one else would ever notice, and then yet you point it out, and people, anyway. So for me, obviously, I said earlier, the stuttering thing was a huge thing for me, and guys, I'm telling you, man, like I had a really, really bad stuttering problem, and I worked so hard to like speak a little bit clearer, just for teaching. It was only for that purpose. And although I don't see the progression, man, just hearing the encouragement from my friends and strangers, like, oh, I didn't even know you stuttered or whatever, that's good. But then there's times where I find little things I say or I say wrong, and then it gets down to just kind of feeling anxious, to saying the wrong thing, sometimes. One big discouragement was James 3, how we have a stricter judgment, and so whenever I'll teach, I'd be so the first Bible study I led after so many years, man, I was literally sweating as I was giving the Bible study. I was so I was so nervous, man. And I told my wife, I was like, yeah, it wasn't that noticeable, huh? And she's like, I don't know. And I even told my pastor, I was like, you know what? I love teaching, but maybe I'm just not a teacher, and he just encouraged me, man. He just said, I know you already. I've seen you teach. People have told me about you already. Don't let the enemy tell you that. Don't let the enemy get into your head like that and put you down. You're called to teach God's word, so teach it and do it firmly. So anyways, man, about James 3, teaching the wrong thing, right? At times we go on here, and like I said earlier, I don't have too much notes to go off of.
Sure.
But for the people who are so worried about saying the wrong thing, teaching the wrong doctrine without realizing it, and therefore they just rather not do anything at all. What kind of advice do you give to them? Because that was actually me. That was me back then. If I came up to you and be like, bro, like I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's legit. I mean, first I would say, that's a good thing. The reason why I say that is because that means you care about what you're doing. You care about God's word. You care about people's soul. And so that, but let's not be in that state where it petrifies you, but instead harness that and turn it into due diligence to make sure what you're teaching is correct. Use that same caution that, this is God's word. These are God's people, these souls, like I said in James, the stricter. So let me cross-reference. Let me do some research. Let me read some more commentary. Let me do some more studying. And so what that does is that it's going to take whatever you have going on. It's going to, it's going to be more solid and more foundational. You're really going to dig in, you're going to break out the lexicon, whatever you need to do, and that's what I would say, man. Don't be discouraged to the point where you don't do anything. But take that fear, which it's fear and trembling. We approach God, fear and trembling. Take that fear and turn it towards making sure what you're saying is right. Turn it towards the scriptures, turn it towards resources, solid resources that you trust, and things like that. For me personally, I don't get that deep on my show, so so I don't really worry about that. But if, let's say, if I were to speak, somewhere or whatever, and I was to misspeak, again, I don't mind showing my flaws, because if I'm incorrect, I don't mind coming back and say, hey guys, last week I said this, that was wrong. Somebody called it, corrected it, and here's the correct thing. I'm not afraid of that moment. That scares some people. Like, some people are scared of being corrected, like saying something, then being corrected, then having to come back and apologize. Some people can't handle all that. But that's another approach, man. If that happens, I mean, that goes back to humility. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Be humble enough to say, hey guys, that verse I quoted, it was out of context. I got the correct context. I did a little bit more digging, and this is what we got, and make that change and then just keep moving, because we're not perfect. We're not going to say everything just right. Vodi Bakum don't quote every scripture perfectly. He don't, Steve Lawson don't do it either. So, I mean, they know a lot. They know more than most of us, but they don't do it perfectly. I mean, the ones we see on the screen, when we see the videos on YouTube, they own this, is spotlights on them. But when they go to that little church, you don't see, something might slip or something might come out. And if they catch it or somebody else catch it, then they respond. I remember at G3, not last year before last, Dr. Derek Thomas said something about the deity of Christ, that he was sick. Let me preface, he wasn't feeling well, but he was there. But he said something that was a little off. And so the founder, Josh, made statements like, hey, we Derek is a faithful teacher. We think he might not have been feeling well. And then Derek came back and was like, yeah, my bad, I didn't mean to say that. So it happens. So, if those guys can do it,
wow,
who are we? We're no different.
Wow, yeah, that's good, bro. I didn't know about that. So, and I love listening. I love reading Derek and his stuff online. So
he's brilliant.
Yeah, man. Yeah, wow. Okay, so that was good. The last thing I want to address is sin, right?
Yes.
At times, maybe you don't have a stuttering problem. You speak well. People aren't criticizing you harshly. You have accountability. Everything's right? But then there's sin in your life. Okay, and it could be personal sin. Maybe you struggle with pornography. Maybe you're not married yet, and yet you're in a relationship and you're doing things you shouldn't be doing. Or maybe it could be just lust, or maybe it could be anger. I've had a few Christians in the past, brothers of mine, who had issues with anger, and sometimes they'd come to me and be like, bro, like, so I was at Walmart and they were in a fight basically, or they got arrested or something. And I was like, what? I was like, wait, don't you have Bible study to lead this week? He's like, yeah. And at times it doesn't bother them, but some people it does bother. Like, you don't want to be hypocritical, right? That's the thing. You don't want to be hypocritical. So when it comes to certain sin, and I know there's different ways to answer this, bro, so feel free to really just break it down if you need to.
Sure.
So first, let's deal with the sin of pride, and how that manifests itself, either in false humility or either like just being too proud of your work. Like, man, like I this is good stuff that I'm producing here, and so I don't. Yeah.
No, so pride is a major one. The thing about pride is sneaky. Pride comes in when you least expect it. The attaboys, the reviews, the notoriety. It's amazing that God built us in a way where we just respond to it. Endorphins go off in your mind, and you sometimes can get a high from it. On that side of it, it's always good to surround yourself with good, godly brothers or sisters, if you're a lady, that can kind of be in your corner, not to necessarily humble you, but if you have these guys that for me, like Daryl, Virgil, Terrence Barlow, those guys are like, that's like my circle. And so, whenever that pride feeling, it's almost like they can see it, like, hey, you all right, you good, I know things going good, you straight, because we have that relationship, man. So it's really good to have, guys in your corner to help you deal with that. They may see it when you don't see it, because one thing that is funny, the weird thing about pride is a lot of times you don't necessarily see it, man. Like you're moving along and you don't even notice it, and then somebody else may notice it. So and I deal with that. I struggle with that, man. Like I said, when you in an opportunity where you see a lot of see the blessings of God almost everywhere in your life, and then you get notoriety and people like you call me an expert, all of that stuff, it comes towards me. My wife also, if you're married, your wife will definitely humble you. Your wife will definitely humble you. Some post that I make, she's like, babe, that's a little prideful. You might want to take that down. And I'd be mad, but I take it down anyway,
Yeah.
So if you have a spouse, that you don't have to worry about pride that much. And then false humility, man. I think probably the place where false humility resides the most is in seminary. Just to be honest, those guys that are in school, like they really, because it's all about piety, like how holy can I present myself, and so they have it's to the utmost with them, like, like you said, I don't care about this, I don't care about that, but that, like you said, that's false humility, man. That's still in the same lane as pride, man. And so people dealing with that, I would say, just be honest, because of course, it's all to God's glory, and that's the right answer, and that's that's the right answer for a podcast interview, but don't take it to the point where you just like, I'm drinking, I'm fasting, I got this the moisture from a leaf, and that's all I'm drinking, and like I'm just super humble. You know what I mean? Like, so you just be honest, man. Be honest with yourself. It's okay when people pat you on your back, when people give you, it's okay to like that, enjoy that. Like I said, you don't have to go to the other extreme when it comes to pride.
Right. Yeah. Amen, bro. Yeah. It reminds me sometimes, man, like a pattern in my life is this, man. Like whenever I start expressing like, my accomplishments or the good things that are going on, it seems like more likely than not, like about 90% of the time, God humbles me pretty quickly after that, man. But then I see my other brothers who are like, I have a brother, and I won't name him, but he has a very successful Facebook page, and I mean, he's doing a good job, man. And he admitted to me that he's very narcissistic, and at times it's hard for him to get criticism. And so at times he'll come to me, and be like, "Hey, bro, like, what do you think about this?" And I'll give him my feedback, and he fights back. I was like, "Bro,
yeah." I
was like, "Come on," And anyways, but there's guys like him who, but with me, I struggle more with, like, again, this having at times, having this kind of false humility, and at times the danger in that is that we dwell on things that we shouldn't dwell on for too long.
Sure.
And again, I know Saints Edified is a small platform, but even then, like whenever I get one subscriber, I'm like, yes. I have one guy there, watching me.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but then I dwell on it a little bit. I was like, man, I wonder if he's gonna stay long. Or, I know, bro. I have issues. Trust me. Hopefully, you and I could talk more. But
sounds good.
I don't want to get too much into that. But the point is that this pride needs to be addressed. This pride in general has to be addressed. You have to acknowledge it. I love what you said about having like an inner circle, right? Where guys can check you, they check you on it, so that's a good thing. My wife is I think all I need is my wife in my circle, bro, because she'll let me know each and every single time, And
actuals,
or even when I fake laugh in an interview, like she'll look at me, it's like, what was that about? That was a fake laugh, It's like, come on, just be yourself, Arturo. Stop trying to be this cool guy and laid back. Just be yourself. Come on, be your goofy self. Anyway, but
wise to do it, man. Wise to do it.
Okay, so that's good, man. I'm glad we addressed that. Now there's that personal sin, right? That personal sin that could really be. This is where I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where I think sometimes it's good to take a step back.
Oh yeah.
So again, if someone's dealing with personal sin, and they're feeling the conviction, they feel somewhat hypocritical. Even if they don't feel hypocritical, but they know it's wrong. They're convicted in their mind, right? That's the ministry of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit convicts you of your sin. If I go up to you and be like, bro, I've been dealing with this. It's a serious sin. Should I stop my podcast? Should I stop my ministry? What should I do?
So my default is to actually consult your elder at your church. Elder, pastorship. That would be my default. Go to them. Talk to them about the sin, talk to them about your platform, talk to them about what you're doing, and let them help you with that decision. I will not give you a yay or nay or whatever. I'm not an elder. I'm not a pastor. I can't be there to help disciple you during that period. So I'm going to default to send you there. But the way that I help people with their podcasts and stuff is I teach them to do series for that reason. So if you do series, man, and something happens, he's like, hey guys, we're gonna take a break, man. We'll be back with series. Season 2 will be, whenever God say
That's
whatever.
Smart, man. I didn't even think about that. That's a smart thing to advise.
Bro, I tell everybody that because I sign myself up for every Tuesday, and it, like I said, sometimes it's hard to keep up. But if you do seasons, you can literally take a break anytime you need to, and your listeners are good, and you can, so that's why I advise that. But yeah, definitely eldership is the default. Get with somebody that can help you through it. That can, I know of well-known podcasts and very well-known podcaster that did not actually sin or anything, but some things transpired. You know how to say it goes down in the DM. Some things transpired in the DM.
Oh man.
And he approached us and said, "Hey, I need to take a little break. I'm gonna present this to my pastor, and we're gonna go from there." And so he did. The pastor, went through everything. He saw, there was no sin involved. And then he said, "Hey, I think you're fine to continue." So that's why I always default to say, go to your elder, go to your pastor, lay it out there and let them help you with that. That's what they're called to do. So that would definitely be my advice for that.
Yeah, that's good advice, bro. Yeah, I mean, the whole series thing, I never seen the benefit in that until now, to be honest. I never actually figured out why people take breaks and all that. But it makes sense whether it be sin or not, just to plan for these little breaks, these little retreats that you have, and sometimes
that's a consulting tip, man. So I gave that for free. So
okay. Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, and I guess a little bit of backstory on that. Back in like 2012-ish, around there, again, after I started Saints Edified and everything, I was actually engaged. Before meeting my wife, I was engaged to someone else, and we broke up. And that breakup revealed a lot about me that I just didn't know. Like man, I had issues, bro. This is when I realized I had issues. I'm like, I need help. So I started getting some counsel. And the reason why I started getting counsel was not because I realized that I had all these issues, but because I was leading Bible study. And sometimes the group would be like 20, 25 people around my age, a little older. I was like maybe 18 at the time. 18. No, I was actually about like 20 years old, and I had people listening to me teach the Bible every week. And I started feeling the pressure. Like I was like, man, like I don't like this, and so finally it got down to the point where I was really sick of my sin. And my personal friends know what was going on, but pornography was part of that. But there was much more than this. I mean, I know pornography is a huge deal, but there was so much more than that. Sure. And I sought counseling, and I took a break from Bible studies for a little while, and I got counseled, and there were so much things I learned about myself, things I was able to combat and fight against. I got more accountability, and that did make me stronger, man. Like I came out of that like more confident in God, and when I teach or when I just live my Christian life, as a young single Christian man. And thankfully the year after I met my wife and I got married, so it was like that worked out just fine. But I remember having to like just step away from Bible studies because I love teaching the Bible, bro. Like Bible study is my thing, a small group, and I had to step away from that, man. And so if you find yourself in that situation as a podcaster, do what Dawain said. Just kind of do series, take a break, recoup. It's not the end of your ministry, it's just go ahead and man, so many teachers in the last year we've seen fall, and sadly even some after their death. It's just these things come out, man, and before that happens you want to deal with it. You want to work at it because you don't want to hurt the kingdom of God. You don't want to hurt the process, right? And Christianity. Right. You want to make sure that you're strong in it. So anyways, great stuff, man. I really appreciate that, bro. So last topic, and or actually last question, and then we can end. So you often say on your podcast that we need more podcasters. Okay, that was the exact opposite I heard 10 years ago, you know, but I agree with you. I actually agree with you 110%, man. In fact, one of the guys that I always check with when I do some content, he listens to podcasts all the time, and I thought he was gonna be one of those few that were gonna tell me like, bro, like don't worry about doing a podcast. You know that there's so many good ones out there already. Don't worry about it. Instead, he told me what you said. He said, bro, like we need more. Like we need so much more podcasters out there. Like we just needed to flood the whole podcast market, Christian podcasters. You know. So can you explain why? What's the reasoning behind that? Why should we want more podcasts?
Well, so I kind of touched on it before, man. Everybody has a voice, man. Podcast is the one free medium that doesn't have, well, for now, doesn't have like a major label that determines if you're on or not. You know, radio used to, you got to be, you know, record label. They got to go to the radio station, blah, blah, blah. TV, you got to get a, you know, do your pitch, and they got to whatever. But podcast, all you need today is a phone. You know, kind of to start out with, just because it's open and it's free, you know, why not? But I guess the real reason why I think everybody needs a podcast, and everybody, because, you know, it's almost like, you know, shooting a buckshot, you know, one of them's going to hit. If I tell everybody to start a podcast, hopefully that inspired the one or two that actually will do it. And that one or two will be the ones that come and have the, you know, really good content. And so I'm always encouraging podcasters. I'm always, you know, because again, you have your own voice, you have your own point of view, and you'd be surprised. There's so many other people that think and see things the way that you do. You know, and you sharing your testimony about stuttering. There's so many people that deal with stuttering that would listen and be encouraged. You know, like, you know, I deal with it too. You know, it's really good. So, you know, you really have an opportunity to reach so many people, literally be all over the world, and you can create what I call like a little army, man, of folks that, you know, think like you think, you know, like what you like, and y'all can have a common place. And then another reason why is because if we flood the market with Christian podcasts, think about this, man. You think about the places and spaces we can reach with the gospel, man, with solid biblical content. Because, you know, even though Just Thinking, you know, is over 1 million downloads, still everybody haven't heard them yet. You know what I mean? So, and somebody might hear, you know, your podcast or my podcast, they never heard of their podcast. They might mention their podcast. And so it's like a chain of events, man. When we get all of these folks putting out content and cross promoting, which I love to do, and doing interviews like we're doing now, then we just begin to blanket and spread, you know, really good sound biblical teaching, you know, all over the globe.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's true, man. So there you go. There you have it, guys. If you guys want to start a podcast, I use Anchor FM. I don't know what you recommend.
So I actually like Anchor. We actually, I got Just Thinking on Anchor. Anchor reached out to us when we
really?
Yeah, when we started doing major numbers, they reached out to us, wanted us to come to their platform, said they'll do a feature. So I moved Just Thinking to Anchor. And then also another free one that's really good is Red Circle. Red Circle is an up and coming company, and they have some really cool features. Like they actually will turn your audio into a YouTube clip, you know, with whatever graphic and, you know, all that. And they'll and they'll also do what they call dynamic insertion. So you can put markings in your podcast. And if you get an ad, they'll dynamically insert that ad in that spot. Or let's say if you get a sponsor, you can put that sponsor in every podcast. Because think about it, when you do a recording, it's final, it's closed. So if I get an ad, if somebody listens to an old show, they're not going to hear the sponsor for that month. With dynamic insertion, they can hear it no matter what show they click on.
Nice. Yeah, I think I saw that on your page somewhere too. I'm actually on your page right now, looking through everything, and I'm trying to find the consulting link so I could post it in the description. But
I'll send it to you, man. I do this thing called Calendly. so people can just do a free 30-minute consulting with me. And then after that, we'll talk about, possible plans or whatever we want to do.
Nice, man. Cool. Well, man, I really appreciate it. And hopefully the people listening are encouraged to start a podcast. That was kind of my main objective here, was to get someone who's typically discouraged, and yet someone like me, to still try to do a podcast. And again, there has been some success. Now, obviously, I want it to grow more, right? But someone like me, who maybe the world would see like isn't fit to do a podcast or anything like that, I'm still trying to do God's work, man. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's all about doing God's work for His glory alone. Okay, it's not about you. It's not about me. So there's no excuse.
Consultant, man. I help you grow it, man.
And well, there you go. Yeah, and again, there's someone like Dawain, man, who's willing to help. So appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, everything that you do. Thank you again. I mean, we have a few of your guys on our Redeem Project Radio podcast lineup. So and also too, if you guys do start a podcast and you guys are reformed and biblical and reformed, feel free to hit me up, man, and I could possibly put you on the schedule. So it's a 24/7 Christian hip hop radio station. We play podcast all week long. So anyways, man, thank you so much again, bro, for I know it's late over there where you're at in the East Coast. So thank you again for jumping on. And
brother, listen, thank you for having me.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. I mean, is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Oh, sure. So I want to shout out well, I'm just kidding.
I just realized, man. I was like, oh man, I forgot about that part. Yeah, so.
No, it's all good. Good. But no, first I want to thank you, brother, for having me on your show. Thank you. Anytime I get an invitation, do not take it lightly, because, again, there's so many other people that could be on here. And I love what you're doing and what you're building, especially with the streaming radio. It's definitely a medium that's needed. So I want to encourage you there. For those that want to listen to the B.A.R podcast, man, go to thebarpodcast.com. If you're on YouTube, you want to fly tea like this, go to thebargear.com. And you can hit me up on any of the socials. My name, Dawain21, on Twitter, and look at him on Twitter and on Instagram. You can go, that's B.A.R podcast page right there. You can go subscribe to the podcast. Yep, and those are all my episodes. Man,
bro, your website is just clean, man. Like
nice. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything like that, but I can't get over your website, bro. It's a nice website. Yeah, guys, check it out. I mean, we have someone like Dawain on our side, and it's a good thing. And so take advantage of it. Yeah, find them on social media pages. I'll link everything in the description, bro. Don't worry. I'll link everything down. People will check it out. This will be on the Saints Edified Network, and also on Saints Edified Podcast, and also on the Redeem Project Radio YouTube channel. So hopefully people learn more about the B.A.R. So
awesome.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you.